Okay, I think we'll get started. Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm Sarah McDonald from PHIDU, the Public Health Information Development Unit, and I'll be hosting this session for you today. I'm going to run through some key elements of our website, including what data and tools we have available. I'll also run through a couple of examples of the way our data has been used. Claire from PHIDU is also joining us today and will monitor any questions. So if any pop up along the way, just pop them in the chat panel and I'll address them as we go or at the end of the session. I think you all have, but if you've got your mics turned on, could you please turn them off so it just stops any interference that we get. Right. So the topics I'll be covering today are who we are at PHIDU, what data we have available on our website, the different ways in which data are presented, how to download data from the website, what tools are available that help with presenting in your own data or your own publications, and where past publications can be found. So firstly, and most importantly, our website. I'll just click out of here. It's phidu.torrens.edu.au. And this is where it takes you to our homepage. So PHIDU was established in 1999 by the Commonwealth Department of Health and Ageing. We are a small team based in Adelaide, and since November 2015, we've been located at Torrens University, Australia. The focus of our work is on the publication of small area statistics relating to health and social influences on health for the whole of Australia, for the purpose of monitoring inequality in health and well-being, and for supporting opportunities to improve population health outcomes. To find out more about us, the button up here on the right-hand corner, or the Find Out More button here, just will take you to a bit more of a description about what we are and what we do. If at any stage you're on our website and you want to get back to that homepage, if you click on PHIDU up here on the left-hand corner, that takes you straight back to our homepage. So before I get into the content of the atlas on the website, I'll share with you an example of how our data was being used. I'll just switch back to here, sorry. Data that was released on our website, mainly around median age of death, attracted quite a bit of media attention, including an article written in the Sydney Morning Herald entitled "A Shame on Our City, the Yawning Gap in Life Expectancies Across Sydney." The article showed how lifespan differed across two neighbouring areas in Sydney, being Bidwell here and Cherrybrook to the right. As you can see from this table, a number of health and socioeconomic indicators were selected from our data sets to show this disparity. And here, looking at the median age of death at the top there, shows a wide 19-year age gap in median age at death between these two neighbouring cities. So this is just one example of how our data was used to show striking disparities in health and economic welfare at the small area level. I'll just hop back to our website. Our website hosts a broad range of data relating to health, including demographic, social, and economic factors that affect health outcomes. You can browse the available data by clicking on this tab up here, Social Health Atlases, and going to the drop-down topics, indicator, and notes on the data. From this topics, indicators, and notes on the data page, you can see you can have a look at the topics by the General Atlas, the Social Health Atlases of Australia, or for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander set of atlases. In this first General Atlas here, we have over 750 indicators, and in the Indigenous, we have just over 200 indicators. I'm just going to click on the General Atlas to start with. So in each of the atlases, indicators are grouped into domains. So if you scroll down, you can see the first domain here of demographic and social indicators, which include some demography, some education, some family indicators, housing and transport, and labour force. The second domain here is community strengths, personal and financial stresses and barriers to accessing transport and health services, some modelled estimates. Then health status, disease prevention, disability and deaths. We have a range of indicators on mothers and babies, child and youth health, some screening programs, cancer incidents, And as you scroll down, you can see that we have premature mortality, median age at death, potential years of life lost. The last domain we have is the use and provision of health and welfare services, including some screening programs, some health workforce data, and a range of indicators available for hospital admissions, potentially preventable hospitalisations, and lastly, some emergency department presentations. I'll just scroll up and I'll drop down one of these topics. You can see that under each topic, there's a set of indicators that are available. Each indicator shows you the name of the indicator, the year the data is available for, and also at what geography level we have the data available for. Another way to search for a particular indicator, for example, if you're interested in hospitalisations, if you just type hospital in the search, it'll give you the list of indicators that we have available related to that topic of interest. I'll just delete that. So if we take a closer look at one of the notes, if I just come down to mothers and babies, and we'll just go and have a look at low birth weight babies. So and you'll see here in this first section are some notes that tell you a little bit about why we think this indicator is important to monitor, which we're calling here the policy context. We scroll down, any additional notes that we think the user should be made aware of, including any caveats associated with data quality, etc., are noted here. You can then see the available geography that the indicator's for, the numerator and denominator description that we've used, the detail of analysis, so in this case it's percent, but it could be rates or ratios, and then lastly the source, where we've obtained the data from. You can also access these notes. If I just go back to the notes page and scroll up to the top, here this PDF link takes you to a link that contains similar information that I just showed you in the individual notes into one big PDF. So each of the indicators are in that PDF document that you can download and save. So there are three main ways that we present our data. Firstly, maps, which show geospatial variation at the small area level. Graphs, which describe data by categories of disadvantage and remoteness. And then also all of our data is available in form of Excel spreadsheets that you can download. So firstly, I'm just going to run through the maps that we have available. Just click on the maps topic. So here you can see that maps are available by population health areas, or PHAs as we call them. So PHAs are a single or aggregated SA2s, which is the statistical area level 2 that's used by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, the ABS. These areas, in some instances, have been aggregated in order to increase the population size, which enables us to be able to release more data at the small area level. Our maps are also available by local government areas, by primary health networks. We also have a range of maps for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander population. And then we have a few topic-specific atlases. If you can see, if I scroll down, there's a housing atlas, there's an ageing atlas, potentially preventable hospitalisations, and a regional centres. We're also in the process of putting together a child and youth atlas, which should be available in the coming months. So if I look at under local governments, you can see that the maps are available by single maps, double maps, or area profiles. And they're available for each state and territory or Australia as a whole. So I'll just firstly explain and navigate through the single map. So we'll just look at the LGA map for Australia. Each of the atlases have the same properties. So as I explained this one, everything carries over to the double and the area profile as well. When this loads, we will see the map, the LGA map here of Australia. There's a number of components on the screen. Firstly, the map itself, a data table, a metadata box, a comparison chart, a bar chart down the bottom here, the legend, and also some comparative areas in this box to the right-hand side here. So the map itself shows the title of the indicator, the year the data is available for, and then the unit that's being mapped. In the table over here is that areas of the, the areas being mapped. Next to it is the indicator value, in this case, the %, and then the associated number of cases with the indicator selected. The areas in the table are listed in alphabetical order, first by state, if I scroll down, and then by the area itself, in this case, the LGA. If you want to change the order in the table, say you want to look at the proportions highest to lowest, if you click on the % up here, it'll first take you lowest to highest. If you click on it again, it'll take you from highest to lowest. And likewise with the number over here, you can have a look at the number of cases in order as well. And to get back to the alphabetical order, just click on the name again. So when you first open the atlas, it defaults to the first variable that's in our atlas. So in this case, we've got male population 0 to 4 year age groups. To change the data, if you click on the select data button, you'll see the range of topics, exactly the same as what was on the data and indicators that I showed you before. So the topics there, and if you drop down, you can see the available indicators under that topic. The little page icon to the left-hand side here, when you click on that, it takes you to that detailed notes on the indicator as I showed you before. And I'll just shut that. So as you change the indicator to be displayed, you'll notice that the metadata down the box here also changes, and it just displays any additional information about the indicators that the user should be aware of. In the legend box over here on the right-hand side, there are a few overlays that you can click on and off. In this case, where there's public hospital and emergency departments that can be displayed, primary health networks can be overlaid on the LGAs, and so forth. You can also click on and off the boundaries. In the legend here, while I'm here, the cog icon here allows you to change, if you just click on that, allows you to change the colouring of the map. It also allows you to change the number of ranges. So you might want to increase or decrease the number of ranges. Sorry, it's lagging there. You can also change the way the legend is displayed. So you might want to look at equal intervals, natural breaks, continuous, etc. Just jump back to there. And to close that, just the little cross up there in the right-hand corner. The column chart down the bottom here shows all the areas that are mapped from highest to lowest in a column chart. And if you use these comparison areas over here to the right, by clicking, if you click on, say, Australia, you'll notice that a horizontal bar is being placed across the bar chart down here. So it just shows you, you can have a quick look at what areas are above or below the Australian average or whatever average you choose. You can look at more than one. So if you want to click on Victoria at the same time, or Brisbane, any of those can be selected. And if you click back on them, they will be removed from the table. In the Instant Atlas, you may have noticed when I've been scrolling across that each of the components are all interactive. So as I'm scrolling across the area, you can see it's highlighted in the legend, in the bar chart, and also can be highlighted in the table. As you move your cursor across the areas, you'll see that the name of that area is displayed along with its associated value. So from this view of Australia, you can filter down to selected geography areas using the filter to an area button. So you might want to zoom in a particular state. It's just stuck for a minute. There you go. Or you can zoom into a capital city. To remove that filter on the map on the top left-hand corner, if you just click that off, the filter will be removed and it will go back to the original view. You can also zoom in closer by using your scroll on your mouse if you've got a scroll, or by using these magnifying glasses up here in the left-hand corner of the map. To get back to the original view of the map, if you just click those double-headed arrows, it'll take you back to the full view. It's also possible to maximize each component on this interface. So by pressing on the little arrow there in the top right-hand corner, you can see that you can eliminate all the other components and just select the map. It normally fills out. And then if you want to save that particular map for your own use in a presentation or a document, if you click on the little download arrow up there, it lets you, sorry, it's just being a bit slow. It lets you right click and then you can save the image, copy the image and so forth. To get back to the original view, if you just click on that arrow again, it'll take back to the map, the full map view. So finally, from this interface here, you'll see here there's a data notes button. That just takes you to a set of instructions as to how to access the notes on the data, which I've just been through. Over here in the top right, there's another help button that goes into a little bit more detail if you need any specific help. It's available there. And then a link to data button, which will take you to an Excel spreadsheet that holds all the underlying data for every indicator for every area on the map. So that's our single map. So I'm just going to jump back to our page here and I'm just going to take a look at a double map. And in this example, I'm going to show you a double map that we have available for an Indigenous comparison. So we're looking at Indigenous compared to non-Indigenous. And it's, sorry, I'll just refresh the page. Our internet connection might be a bit slow here. Nope, doesn't want me to do it that way. I can also find it under our topic specific atlases. And down under our Indigenous status comparison maps. We'll scroll down to the maps and you can see that our maps are available for a single map and our double map in this case. So I'm just going to take you through the double map. So as I mentioned before, all the components, the filter to an area, the link to data buttons all work in the same way as I've just described. The main difference here being that now we have two maps. So you can present two indicators at once and have a comparison. So in map one here, I'm just going to select, Indigenous unemployment. So we go to labour force, select Indigenous unemployment, and I'm going to have a look at that in comparison to premature mortality for 0 to 74-year-old persons, Indigenous. I'm going to filter down just so we can get a closer look at New South Wales. And there we go. So rather than having a column chart, as I showed you in the single map, here we have a scatter plot. The scatter plot shows the relationship or correlation that exists between the two indicators selected. So in this case, between Indigenous unemployment and in map 2, Indigenous premature mortality. So each dot on the scatter plot represents an area on the map. So for each area, the value of the indicator selected for map 1 is plotted against the indicator selected for map 2. So we can see there's a relationship between these indicators. And this is described by the correlation coefficient or R value up here on the top of the scatter plot. A correlation coefficient of 0 means no correlation at all, while a correlation coefficient of 1 indicates complete correlation. So here at the LGA level in New South Wales, a correlation there of 0.6 indicates a relatively strong relationship between these two variables. Another feature of the double map, in this case, looking at Indigenous status comparison, allows you to look at the same indicator, but for Indigenous and non-Indigenous. So I'm just going to have a look at Indigenous rented dwellings by Indigenous households compared to I scroll up, non-Indigenous housing authority rented dwellings. I'm going to filter down to Sydney so we can get a closer look at the pattern. And from the map, you can see a similar pattern of higher rates in the inner and western areas and lower around the outskirts, which is also supported by this high correlation of 0.9 there. However, what we do notice in looking at the table is that in map 1, showing the Indigenous households, compared to map 2, the non-Indigenous households, the much higher rates that we have here for the Indigenous population. So that's just another way that you can use the double maps for comparing areas. Next, I'm just going to go back to our maps page, and I'm going to show you an area profile map. I'm going to show you the area profile for population health areas in South Australia, if it lets me. Sorry, just going to refresh this page. There we go. So there's singles, doubles, area profile. We're just going to select South Australia. So the area profile displays all the data indicators for a single area in one view using this spine chart that's just loading. To customize the legend, downloading the data, using the help, and all of those functions along the top there are all the same as I've previously described. So the instant atlas for the area profiles opens first with the map displayed. If you want to toggle between the map and the table to show the data, it's just this toggle map data button up here, just flips between the map and the table. So just to display data on the spine chart, first an area must be selected. So you can either select an area from the map, you can select it from the table, or you can select it from the graph. I'm just going to zoom in to Adelaide, and I'm going to select Playford West, an area in our northern suburbs. So by expanding the topics over here on the right-hand side in the spine chart, if we expand families there, you can see for each indicator, the percent difference from Australia. So 0 being no different from the Australian total, above to the right there, showing that there's a greater percent from the Australian average, or below that, there's below average value for that indicator. From here, you can expand any of the topics, and it just allows you to have a quick snapshot of how the particular area that you've selected compares to Australia as a whole. By using this plus minus button down the bottom here, collapses the table or expands the table for every indicator, possibly. Yep, there we go. And you can get a quick snapshot of how that area is faring. The other way that this, another function of this, sorry, that's useful, if we just collapse all of that. And I'm going to select 2 areas this time. So I'm going to select Davern Park, and we'll take off Playford West. So just by clicking either on the graph there or the map, it will remove it. And I'm also going to select one of our Adelaide Hills suburbs here of Aldgate Stirling, just so we can have a look at a comparison. So if we scroll up and say, look at Indigenous status, the top value here is showing that for Davern Park, showing the proportion of Indigenous people in this case is quite above the Australian average. And you can see here, this percent difference in this column is the actual proportion that it is above or below Australia. And in this column, in this one here for the Adelaide Hills suburb, you can see that the proportion is quite below. And if we drop down another indicator, you can, of learning and earning in this case, you can see the opposite pattern. So that's just another useful example of the area profiles. So that's our maps in general, but I will show you one more thing on our maps with the primary health networks. So the primary health network maps are available with component PHAs. So it's the PHAs within that area profile, sorry, population health area. primary health network, I'll get it right now, and also the component LGAs within the PHNs. I just select the single map. When you first open the PHN maps boundaries are shown. And if you wish to get a bit more detail of the geography within your PHN, if you use the geography tab up here on the left-hand corner, if you drop that down and instead of selecting primary health networks, you select LGAs, the map will populate with LGAs. And then if you wish to go further and look within your primary health network, if you drop the primary health networks down and we, for example, go to North Coast, it will zoom in to the PHNs within, the LGAs within your PHN. It will limit your table and the graph down here just to your areas. So that's the PHN map. So that's our maps. I'm just going to check. Claire, do we have any questions? No questions? No questions about the maps. Very good. I'll move on. So an alternative way to view our data is in the form of interactive graphs. This is either by levels of disadvantage or remoteness as defined by the ABS. Both of the packages allow users to view the most recent data, changes over time, and by Indigenous status. So firstly, for the monitoring inequalities in Australia, you can see that the graphs are available for the whole population or also for the Indigenous population. Just going to select the whole population in this case. And as I said, you can get the inequality graphs for the latest time periods data that we have available, a time series, and we also have inequality graphs for primary health networks. So these graphs show the variation in socioeconomic status within each PHN. I'll just show you the time series. So the graphs are set up under the same topics and indicators as I showed you previously. So if we just have a look at premature mortality, you'll see the indicators available under that topic and the graphs that are available for each state and territory or Australia as a whole. I'll just click on Australia. So the monitoring inequality graphs show how the indicator varies by levels of socioeconomic disadvantage. So the data are presented in 5 groups, where each group represents approximately 1/5 of the population. From those people living in the least disadvantaged areas down here in quintile 1, to those living in the most disadvantaged areas in quintile 5. The inequality ratio over here, in the right-hand side here, shows the rate ratio of those in the most disadvantaged areas to those in the least disadvantaged areas. So a rate ratio here of 1.52 indicates that the premature mortality rate in this earlier time period, which is represented by the lighter bar, is 52% higher in the most disadvantaged areas compared to the least disadvantaged areas. And if you look at the rate ratio in the later time period of 2, you can see that the rate in quintile 5 compared to that in quintile 1 has doubled. So from looking at this graph, you can see not only has the overall rates of mortality, premature mortality over this time period dropped, and it's dropped by approximately 50%, which is great. But from the rate ratios here over here, you can see that the inequality gap has in fact widened. In the box down the bottom here, there is a short description of the rates shown and also the indicator definitions. And using the buttons over here to the left-hand side, you can change the area that you're looking at. It automatically defaults to open in capital cities, but if you drop that down, you can select rest of states, which is the rural remote areas of Australia or Australia as a whole. Under the choose a topic, rather than going back to the topics page and opening a different graph, the graphs can be navigated by topic through here. So if we click on education, for example, you can then drop down, choose an indicator and select which indicator that you would like to pick from that list. The buttons down the bottom, similar to those on the map pages, that you can access the data notes and sources from this button here. or you can access the whole Excel spreadsheet for the quintiles for each indicator by downloading the data in the data button. And the export snapshot just allows you to take a snapshot of that graph so you can use in presentations, publications, whatever you wish. I'll just jump back to the inequality graphs here. And we'll just show you, sorry, just jump back to the graphs page. And I'm now going to show you, sorry, the remoteness in Australia graphs. So if I click on that, the remoteness graphs work in the same way as the inequality graphs do, except for this time, we're looking at the levels of remoteness across Australia. I'm just going to take you to the latest remoteness graphs, and we're just going to have a look at Indigenous status for Australia. So here you can see the remoteness classes down the left-hand side here, from major cities through to very remote. And like the inequality graphs showing the rate ratio down here, in this case, it's the ratio from the very remote areas to the major cities. And also, as with the inequality graphs, if you scroll across each bar, you can see the actual proportion in each category. So in this case, we can see that in the very remote areas is 27 times higher than those in the major cities. The choose a topic and choose an indicator work in the same way as the inequality graphs did, as do the buttons down the bottom here. So that's our graphs. Did we have any questions on graphs? No, no questions on graphs. So how can we get access to our data? There's two ways. Firstly, as I've shown you, you can access the Excel spreadsheets from our interfaces, the maps and the graphs, or alternatively, you can access them under the Social Health Atlases tab and hit data. And you'll see that you can access the data for each of the geographies, plus the inequality and remoteness graphs, and also access to our Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander atlases and our topic-specific atlases. So if you drop, in this case, the population health areas down, you can download a spreadsheet for all of Australia, or if you just want to download your particular state or territory, that can be done from here. I'll just jump to an example of this. In this case, is the local government areas. The contents page is set up very much like our topics and indicators. Each topic is linked to a worksheet in the book. Scrolling down the areas available, in this case, the LGAs. You can jump down to some comparative areas. So we've got states and territories, capital cities, so forth for comparative down here. And across the page are the indicators that are available. If I just scroll to the very end of the workbook, there's a key that's available that shows any symbols and abbreviations we've used. And the next tab along just shows you the notes, how to access the notes on the data or any additional information that you might need. So that can all be accessed from that page. If you're also looking for data that we previously had available, we have a data archive section that will allow you to download any historical data that we have. So the tools. Just click on the tools. So accessible through the tools menu, we have a map your own data tool, or we have a population pyramid generator. So firstly, in the map your own data tool, as you can see here, there are 3 different boundaries available: by postcodes, by PHAs, or by LGAs. You scroll down a bit further here, there is a step-by-step comprehensive guide on how to use this tool. So I'm not going to go through step-by-step instructions on how to use that today. If you refer to that and need any help, we're happy to help you. But basically, it's accessed through here. You can see that it's available LGA single and double, population health area single and double, and postal areas single. It's preloaded with some population data by 5-year age group, males and females. But basically, by using the tools here on the left-hand side, you can upload your data, which is in the form of an Excel spreadsheet. You can save, share, download, save your map as you wish from here. Although the map is displayed here for the whole of Australia, you are able just to map the city or regional area that you have data for. And then you can just zoom into that particular area you have your own data for. So that's the map your own data tool. The other tool, the population pyramid generator. This function allows you to build population pyramids at various levels of geography. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you can see they're available for the total Australian population, the Indigenous, and then we have an Indigenous status comparison. I'm going to show you the Indigenous status comparison. So for comparator 1, it's going to populate with the Indigenous population. So you should need to do is choose a state and territory that you're interested in, select an area. In this case, there's Indigenous areas, Indigenous regions, and section of state. So that section of state is whether you want to look at a capital city or rural area. So because I've selected New South Wales, you can look at Sydney, for example. So here, this is displaying the population age structure. To the left here, the males, females. And as you scroll over each bar, you can see the associated proportion in that age group. So to add the comparator on the top of that, for the non-Indigenous population, again, choose a state and territory, select an area. Sorry, yes, an area type, and then select an area. So here we've got a population pyramid comparing the Indigenous and non-Indigenous populations. Again, up here, you can export or download the data. I'll just jump back and show you the total Australian population one. So in this case, for in comparator 1, you can look at population pyramids for 2 particular areas. Very similar to before. So you select the state you're interested in, select the geography level. I'm just going to show you one for Victor Harbor. Victor Harbor, for those of you who don't know, is a small coastal town in regional South Australia that's quite popular with retirees. So seeing that population structure compared to, say, South Australia as a whole, if I select section of state and then go and select South Australia, you can see how much that the population in Victor Harbor, the ones in the bars, compared to Australia, South Australia as a whole, varies quite a bit, with much a younger age structure and a greater proportion in the older age groups. So that's our population pyramid tools. Our publications. Publications can be found from this tab here. All publications are available back to 1999 in PDF format that you can download from here. And we do have a few fact sheets available from here, some overweight and obesity and median age of death and so forth. And lastly, help and information. You click on the help and information tab. It gives you access to our latest releases. I'll just click on there. It will show you all the data and the date that's been updated most recently. From the help and information page, there's also information about our data. So a bit more detail on the geography structures, so the PHAs that I mentioned, and also some key statistical information that might be useful. In the help and guides tab here, there's some interactive mapping guidelines, some frequently asked questions, and some video tutorials that may be of use if I haven't covered something today. And lastly, the contact us page here up the top right-hand corner. This is how you can contact us via email. This is me here and my colleagues that send us an email. We're more than happy to help with any questions that you have, anything. If you have a go and navigate through the website after the session and you've got any questions, please feel free to contact us. We're happy to help. And for those of you who haven't, there's a PHIDU mailing list here. Just pop your name and email address in there And yeah, you'll get notified when we release any new data or to send you any important information that we have at the time. I'll just check with Claire if we've got any questions. No questions. I must have covered everything then. Thank you. Thanks for joining us today. And if you do have any questions after this session, like I said, feel free to contact us and we're happy to help. Thank you.